One of the most popular package in the Python for plotting your data, for visualizing your data. Right? It's a cross-platform, you can say, for making 2D plots, 3D plots. It provides you basically a GUI interface where you can plot up your data like using various libraries like PyQt or Python shells, and you can plot it like in the IDLEs and all anywhere, right? So there are some prerequisites when you use matplotlib. Okay, so prerequisite is like numpy is required. If you have a good knowledge over the numpy, you can go with the matplotlib. Like it's not a compulsion, but like if you have a knowledge on this numpy, it's better, right? It will be easier to plot up the data accordingly then. Okay, so let's quickly start up with like how we can go with what are the things basically. All right, and I'm going to understand of the things. So in the matplotlib, the very first thing comes as a figure, right? But we'll be going in that after some 5 to 10 minutes. Let's just first understand the type of plottings there are. Okay, so there are various kind of plots. It can be a line plot, it can be a box plot, it can be a bar plot, it can be a scatter plot, it can be histogram plotting, it can be a pie plot. Various plottings are there, line plot, right? So whatever the basic things are there, we'll complete it first, and then we'll go for the complex plottings and all. We'll be going in one by one in the details. Okay. Now, so the very first thing is to import this up. Okay. And as I said, you will be also requiring the numpy for the good observations. So first of the thing is to first import up these two things. Okay. Now, I'm going to talk about the simple line chart. Okay. So what this means basically, now let's say we have some two observations. Okay, so this is going to be my x and y. Now, when I do a plotting, what two things I have to write? The very basic thing is you will have to write plt dot not plot, it's plot. So plt dot plot, and then plot the data. Like first you have to write your x-axis. You know the x-axis, what it should be there. So I want to plot x and the y accordingly, right? So the x-axis and the y-axis. So whatever you'll be writing will be coming up like that. Okay, and then you'll have to write the show command. Even if you don't write, it will be working there, but it's nice to write. Good to write up there. And you can see a line basically going with the things. For 1, 2, it's 2, 4, 3. For 3, it's 6. Like we go with the 3, it's 6, and the 4, it's 8, right? But it is not clearly like visualizing, right? It is not clearly visualized other things, right? So we could see, like if we write the plot x and y, giving a comma over there and then writing up like okay, let's change this plotting first of all. If we go with this as 1, 4, 9, and 16, that would be much better. Yeah, okay, yeah. Now see guys, right? So exactly if we want to see up the data, what we can do, we can write plt dot, this is coming plot x and y. Now if we want to see only the dots or only the points, not the line, okay, only the points, so we can write it as r. That's it. So okay, 1 minute. RO. This means select dots, like R stands for the color. Basically, you can write for any color, right? Red, yellow, green, blue, black. For black, it's K. Okay. So various things are there. So we can now find that these are the points which has been given up accordingly. Now here also, if you want a line plotting, so we can write, let's say you want a yellow line, and after the yellow line, you are again plotting this x and y with the with the red dots, and it will look like a yellow line and then a red dots over there. Understand? Basic plotting. Okay. Now, whenever we look onto the graph, whenever we look on any graph over there, like speed versus distance or any such things, like we have to focus on the axis also, like what is my x-axis, what is my y-axis, and such the things. So here we can write it as, like, so that is particularly called as labeling. So labeling your graph. Like you want to access, like write the x-axis. So that's the graph. We have to write that x label, and then you can write that this 1, 2, 3, 4 would be some values, and this in the x1 this will be some values, and this y-axis would be the square values of some values, right? And we could say that the title of the graph should be the main title, the square graph. Alright, so with the green triangles, now in place of dots I'm making triangles, and the R means to be the red line, and see a square graph with some values and square values of the some values on the square graph over some lines and triangles and such things. Okay, now if I say that changing the values, let's say this is x going to be an arrange with the intervals of 1, or let's say 0.1. Okay, so from 0 to 10 in the intervals of 0.1 is going to be my x values, and I'm saying a to be the cos of this x and the b to be the sine of this x, obviously. Now let's say if I'm plotting x versus a, and I say here to be the red lines, and I plot x versus b, and I say here to be the green line. What is the error? Okay. So I can see a graph, basically a sine wave graph and a cos wave graph, right? But how to exactly distinguish between the sine wave and the cos wave, right? So we need some sort of formatting basically to distinguish between those things, right? We need some sort of sortings over there. So what we can do is we can give the labels to this, right? We can give the labels. Now what label means? Now, here we are going to write the label is going to be, so with the A is it, this is cos graph. This is a cosine graph. And we'll say the line width to be 2. LW stands for the line width, right? And also the line style to be dash. Okay? Here we'll say the label is going to be the sine graph. The line width to be 3. The line style to be double dash. See, now you could like easily distinguish, right? But what in the case of the label? Where is the label? I could not see the label still, right? So what to do there? There we can write, whenever you write a label, you have to write the legend. Now it will come with a label. That is, this dash stands for the sine, and this red stand for the cosine, and so does the things, right? Also, you can give a grid to this. I will be going on with what is grid basically. So you can give a grid to this graph accordingly. Whoa, weather is getting bad. Nice. Okay. Okay, accordingly, right? So you can go with this too. Alright, wait a minute to do some arrangements. Weather is getting bad. Okay, fine, right? Yeah, coming up next, right? So you have seen like how we can plot up the data accordingly. Okay, now let's say that if I go with some more sortings. Now let's say my x to be a range of some numbers starting from 0 going till the 5 multiplied by, let's say, 2 and in the intervals of 0.5. Okay, this is my x. If I show you my x, the value starts from the 0 goes till 6.25. Okay, now I'll be making sine values and the cosine values respectively, and this will be equals to the x and sine of this and cos of this one. Okay, if you could see the so like the values being displayed, sine of first 5 with the cosine of first 5 with the intervals and all, right? So what exactly a sine graph looks like, right? What exactly how a sine graph looks like? If I say just quickly to plot up this one, So this is a sine graph basically. Similar to this will be the cos graph. This will be the cosine graph, right? And you can make even the tan graphs and all. Like if we this would be like look good in the red colors, right? Okay, that is the thing, right? All right, moving up next. So we'll study now regarding the that figure and all. Okay, we'll go with that too. So I hope you have understood the line style and the line width, what stands for, what we did in the previous one, line style and the line widths. So there are four particular line styles. You can go with the solid, you can go with the dashed, you can go with the dash dot, and you can go with the dotted. Right? It's a very simple thing in math.lib. Okay, very simplex thing in the math.lib. Okay, now let's say we have 2 points P and Q. Where we have data like 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 4, 6, 8. We are using plotting of P versus the Q, and in the black colors I'm going to create a line, and now I'm going to give you a marker. Marker means like what are the points comes like, guys? Okay, what this points come as like labeling. So this points like markers. These are markers basically. Okay, so I want to give my markers as a square. Like S stands for the square. Okay, and I say the marker size to be 10, and the marker edge color I'm going to give it as red. So you can see the graph like the marker edge color accordingly and things. Okay, you can easily make it there as such like in the same graph. If you like, copy this all. Removing this all, like if we only write this KS marker size, not like giving up the marker size, not even giving up the marker edge color. If I just write up that I want the line style given to be the solid, it will be a graph which will be complete black text. Okay, so that is like how we go with up the plottings and all, making it right. Let's say A is equals to the np dot log value, right? So log value of np dot, let's say array of numbers starting from 1 and going to 20 in the intervals of 1.25. So A is like set of numbers basically, right? Or let's say this is my A even, and this is my B. That would be the np dot log of this B. Sorry, this A. This could be there, right? If I just plot this up, A versus the B, you get a graph, logarithmic graph, basically giving some random values, showing some log values over there. If you see of the things, like if I write the labelings, if I say the x lab to be a random value, see, like this. Okay, so you're going to give the markers and all like things accordingly. Okay, right. So now we are going to discuss regarding the bar charts. What exactly is a bar chart? Right? How the bar chart looks exactly like. Now, if we talk regarding the bar chart, what is a bar chart? This is used just to see a graphical representation of data using some bars, right? And that could be of different height or some same height, even you can say, right? If I say that this is my A, B, and C, if I say this is my A, B, and C, if I say PLT dot the X label to be the values, you can see, oh, sorry, this is not to be a plot, this is to be a bar. So you can see a bar chart. Graphical representation of data using, you can say, some bars of okay, and this is your data, right, presented over there. So you can go with the graphs accordingly, right? So like if I make a graph of some COVID cases, these are taught in like Seaborn. In Seaborn, we understand these type of graphings basically. So is there any such things? Okay, let's take a snap of this. All right. Let's plot this data. We'll see accordingly. But this is not giving up exact output. This is like one such graph you will also see. I'll give you the code of this, how you can plot this graph. Basically. Where are the bar graphs? What is that website name? What is this? So there's a table. I can see the table there. Yeah, and this is the table. Okay, so let's plot something. Let's say these are my states. confirmed cases. Okay, fine. So plotting a bar graph, let's say a bar graph of states versus the confirmed cases. So we could see a bar graph but not very clearly. So now we are going to use one function called as figure, right? And now we'll be understanding what is figure and all from here. And basically I'm using fixed size to enlarge this. now you could see a complete graph with a complete state, right? You could see Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Delhi, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal, Gujarat, and so that's the things basically, right? You can see the graph. We can also see the graph as per the deaths. So these are the graph of the states versus their deaths. Maharashtra still leading up there. After then we can see Delhi up at the top, right? So if you want to see a scatter of this all, I want to see a scatter plotting or kind of a strip plot to see the data, basically the visuals of this data. So we can go with this seaborne basically here. So if we say to import the pandas, basically a dictionary of. So first we'll have to make a COVID data set here itself. And how we can make it there? So we can give the states column, and the value is obviously going to be the states. We could give the confirmed cases. We could give the cases per 1 million. And what is it left there? We could go for the recovered and deaths respectively. So this could be the dictionary, right? Now, if I say the DF of COVID, the things you have studied, right? The basics of the pandas will be going in much detail further, not now. So, DF, oh, sorry. So if I look onto my COVID data set, I'll find the states, the confirmed cases, the cases per 1 million, the recovered cases, and the deaths over there as per graph. Sorry, as per a tabular sheet, a pivot table, right? Got it. Points. Now, if I want to see up a graph of this here, I'm going to plot a figure. Medium of its size by 12 by 5. We're going to plot a graph over the confirmed cases with the deaths, and hue semantic is going to be the labels of the states, and the data I'm going to give it as hue semantic. Basically, is the labels what we do. You'll understand. Like if I write it, you'll be understanding it. So this is one kind of a graph where I can see the values. The blue stands for the Maharashtra. Where is this blue? Over some 34,700 and sorry, it's 3 lakh, I think. Yeah, it's 3 lakh 47,502 confirmed cases, over 12,000 of deaths, right? Gujarat is having like 53,631 cases, over some 2,000 people as dead, right? See, cases has been 5,361 and deaths has been above like 2,283. So such things can be plotted up with the values given, and we'll be going in the details of this all. Like, okay. Now, many a times you could also see a horizontal bar graph of this. Many a times you could see the graph what you can see here for now, like this graph what you are seeing up here. Many times it could be like I want to give this as a heading. Changing the like axis basically. That's all. Okay. So there we go for a horizontal bar graph. Got it? Now let's say I want to see the states, not the states versus the recovered people. So I see the states versus their recoveries, and even when you plot the data, you can go for giving up the colors basically. Like if you want to give a color, you can give respective colors one by one or manually, or otherwise you can give it one such color. So let's say I want to give it as a red color, basically, and let's plot this. So you can see a graph with a red color, like in horizontal plotting over there. Like in the states, you could see 2,500 and like values up there accordingly. Okay, like if you want to change this as like in the X, you want recovered versus the states. So see up the data now, right? You are getting nullity, right? Because there is nothing to be plotted in the x-axis to be there. Like, okay, so you can go with the states and all, like values to be there, like some numerical values to plot up the data. Okay, fine. Now moving up to the figure. What exactly is figure? What I was talking about. So figure belongs to a class in a matplotlib. This module contains figure classings. Okay. So we write this figure function from the pyplot to call this, right? We can various times we write figure is equals to plt dot figure. This is a major thing to understand. Very important. Okay. So the syntax, what I said is this. You write this. Now there are parameters, right? One parameter I used just below, or I said just above in the codes, the fixed size you could see. So what are the parameters there in the figure? We have parameters. We have parameters of fixed size. We have DPI. We have face color. We have edge color. We have line width. Okay, these are the parameters we are having up. Now DPI stands for the dots per inch. Fixed size gives you the figure size. Basically, you see the increase. Now what is this 12 by 5? 12 stands for the width, right? 12 inches, and height, that is 5 inches, right? So this is a tuple in inches size you get there. Face color stands for the figure patch face color, and edge light stands for the figure patch edge color, right? Now you'll be understanding it more in more detail, like if we go for making up things accordingly, then you'll be basically understanding. Like for one parameter, 1 minute. Okay. Uh, images and all the images. Hmm. So like for the parameters, one of the parameters also goes with the axis, right? So in the figure we also have to deal with the axis. Now what are axes, guys? You know, right? The y-axis, the x-axis, and the uh, say the positions. Basically, we call it as an axis. Okay, it can be like when you see a graph. What are the axes? Left, right, bottom, and top. Basically, right? The left, bottom, width, and the height. Basically, what we see in the graph. So that are the axes, right? So there we write when we say that we have various things, right? Let me show you. Like when we say in any graph, if we write ax is equals to fig dot add underscore the axis, and then we write basically like 0, 0, 1, and 1. Many times you could see I'll be writing it like this. Right? What is that? This is I'm going to create a rectangle basically. Okay, and this is a 4 length sequence of a rectangle, right? The left is 0, the bottom is 0, and the width is 1, and the height is 1. That's basically the ax. See up my ax, basically. It's a basically axis I'm plotting up, right? Then we have used the legend. What is a legend? That is a method of axis class basically to add a label to your graph, right? The handles, the labels. There also we have various parameters like we have locations like you want the upper right, upper left, lower right, lower left, and all like. So when you say axis, you can also say axis dot plot, and there we like if we are making ax like ax dot plot. That's nothing because I haven't made it anything, right? So there are various color codes, marker codes, line styles, and a lot of things accordingly. So I'm going to use one of those things, right? So to make it clear, like what is figure, what I am exactly talking about, how to deal with that. Okay. All right. So let's say I'm having my sine and cosine. I hope, right? I'm having my sine and cosine. Now I'm going to write that axis has been defined like 0, 0, 1, 1. Now I'm saying that my first axis, right, ax1, is to be ax dot plot. Now what to be plotted up? The x, what I have defined, I hope I haven't defined anything x as such more than this. Fine. So now the x of the first 10 values with the sign and then the with the ys dash. What this means? Ys dash, like kind of thing. X is my shapes. Okay. Sign is there. X is there. If I go with the total x, what should be there then? Same dimensions. Well, okay. I think I have to write it again. This will be sine and this will be the cosine. Okay. Sine and cosine mentioned. Sine and cosine. Let's say bit of sine of the first 10 values of x. Alright. Now fig is going to be VLT dot the fig. And let's say that ax1 and ax2 to be plotted up now. If we see, so figures being added up, and x will be xs, ax, and x1 to be x dot plot x versus the sign, and ys dash dash means that I'm going to plot the graph with yellow line with some square markers basically, and the line style to be dash dash. Okay, so instead of writing up the 3 parameters, I just combine them into a string. And let's hope if we could run this, x2 would be x versus the cosine. I hope this time I'm not going to get any errors. The green dots with the dashed. And the legends going to use labels. So labels, I'm going to write the sine and the cosine. And let's see if it works. I hope it would work up. Okay, so axis you can see is there like 0, 0, 1 and 1. The axis, this means the axis. X and Y must have same dimensions but have shapes 126 by 10. Okay, some problems there. The x sine of this x of first 10. this time. Yeah, got it. So like you can see a graph perfectly with a figure, right? I'm citing 2 graphs over there, like in a plotting. Labels has been defined, and so does the things accordingly. Now see guys, now if you want this graph, basically, like we can see a one graph over there. Now in one window, if you want to see a graph, we'll have to use a function called as subplot, right? There will be a type called as subplottings, and we also call it a multiplot and all. That is a subplot basically. So in subplot, what happens? You write the subplot function, right? And that will be returning you the excess of a grid position. Basically, you write the syntax as, when you go for the subplotting, see, it's very important, like many a times we use. This is a kind of a plot we see in the newspaper and all, like the temperatures, any graph, what we see there. So this syntax is very easy basically. It says to subplot of the things, and then you say what exactly you want to subplot. Then you write the number of rows, the number of columns, and the index basically, right? So you'll see how I'm going to write up there. Okay, I'll be using up, and you'll be looking onto like what exactly this means up. So let's say the sine, cosine, rest of the things to be the same. But in the case of AX1, like let's say that everything remains the same as still from here. Only in the case of AX1, I'm saying figure at the axis. Okay, the first thing I said I'll be using this, not here, this should be the dot. So like AX is this, I think axis I have added up, okay. So I'll be adding subplot. Now what this subplot means, if I write here as 2, 1, 1, remember this 2 is the number of rows I want. This 1 stands for the number of columns I am having, and this 1 stands for index value. If I say here 2, this could be a graph, and I can see 1. Like if I say 1, what's there? First index, the second index. You see the difference between the things. Second index, this is the second index, this is the first index, this was the first index. 2, 2, 2, this means you must be having 2 graphs. 2, 1, 2. Got it? Understanding of the things. You say 3, 1, 2. See, there should be 3 graphs, and accordingly. Okay, I hope you understand the points I'm talking about. Okay, now you can directly like write a subplot, and then you can directly plot up your data basically. Like if you don't want to add any figure and such the things like axis and all, if you don't want to add the subplot, you can directly go with the by adding up this figure dot add axis, and accordingly you can go with that, right? Let me show you first. Let's plot this up, and next we'll show you the later onwards. 2, 1, 1. Now I have to plot this graph. And after this, I'll be writing AX2 dot plot. AX2 dot plot would be the cosine. Okay. For subplotting this, So here you'll have to write subplot and 2, 1 and 2. What this means? So this is 2 rows, 1 column and first graph. This first graph. Then we have 2 rows, 1 column and the second graph. 2 rows, 1 column and the second graph. And that's it there. Let's see. It runs without any error. Yeah. So we can see 2 graphs basically. 1 and 2 over there. And respectively the things. Okay. Inside one, 2 graphs are there. Like if you say that you have 1 column, 1 row, 2 columns. You'll see the change. Okay, 1 row, 2 columns, and then the first graph and the second graph. You can even change that if this is the second graph and if this is the first graph, the things will be changed up. You see various things in the newspaper like in order like this, right? If you remember, like if I say that there are going to be 1 row and some kind of 5 graphs over there, okay, and this is like one of the first graph. If I repeat the same things, 152, let's say this is 151, 152. So this is the last thing we are seeing today, right? Next further will be going up next. So 153 and see the graphs. See the things accordingly, right? So you can make it accordingly, guys, right? Now you say to be like 2 rows, 3 rows, 1 column, 3, 1, 3, 1. The graph would be obviously changed, right? So accordingly it works. Okay, let me write it whatever it was previously, 211 and 212. That's it. Make the graphs. Okay. So that is what exactly this subplot means. Okay. So I'll be completing subplot today, and next we'll be seeing with tomorrow. Okay. Now next in the subplot comes the grids. I think we have discussed this for once somewhere. So now I'm going to add my figure and axis. Now you see, I try to understand. This is the subplots, okay, and 1, 3, 1 row, 3 columns. Got it? And the fixed size I'm saying to be 12 by 4. You can see a graph will be coming up in some axis like this, right? So it is a figure basically, and the axis I have defined 1 0 1 0 kind of thing. Every time it will be there 1 0 1 0, and the subplots have been given with 1 row, okay, and 3 columns, and this is the graph. Okay, now let's write up the thing accordingly. So x will be now yes.
I'm not able to see your screen.
Okay, 1 minute. Let me share it again. Is this visible now? Visible?
No, sir.
Not still. Everyone is having such errors.
Sir, I can see the screen. I think maybe network issues. I can see it. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I have some network issues.
You join with the mobile. Let's see.
Some okay.
Join with the mobile. You could see if it works over there. So excess of 0 dot plot. What this excess of 0 means? I have declared that I'm going to write 3 plots, right? 3 columns. So my first column will be plotting the data of x to the power of 3 with the green lines, and the line width I'm going to define as 2. Now this excess of 0, I'm going to write the grid value, that I want a grid over there. That should be true. Okay. Now again I'm saying excess of 0 dot plot, and this time like if you want to set a title when you work with excess, like we write plt dot title and all. So here we write set underscore title, and now let's say this to be an exponentiation graph. Right? Kind of. X to the power of 3. Like, next we write the excess of 1. Right? And let me copy up this. So excess of 1, x versus, let's say, the np dot sine of this x. So I think it would work like if we go with the sine, cos and all. Line width. Grid to be, now I'm going to change the grid things this time. Okay. So I'm going to write the grid color as to be the blue, the grid line width to be 1, and the grid line style to be dashed. Got it? And this time this would be a cos graph. Okay. So that's a sine graph, cos graph, and now the last graph, that is the third graph would be there. That should be 0, 1, and now this should be true. And this I'm going to write the tan graph. Okay, so things look nice. Let's plot this and see the graph accordingly. So sine graph, cos graph, and the tan graph. 3 things up there in front of you, like. Okay, so we can like in the place of the blue, if you like it as green or yellow kind of thing. Yeah, that looks nice. Right, so these are the things basically how we plot, what does the subplot means, and what exactly we do